Hello and welcome to the Astroflower collective reading for the partial eclipse, which is going to happen on the 25th of October. We did another reading, which was on the total eclipse, the solar eclipse, back in Taurus season as well, which will be linked just above my head. And these both solar eclipses announce a ceremony, a process that we are going through, a vibration that's lasted from Taurus season all the way through to Scorpio season, which we're in now, which is 6 months apart. It's absolutely beautifully poised. And Taurus is all about doing things. It's all about getting things done. And the chakras that were affected during the eclipse back in the Taurus season is mainly the root chakra. You can see that with this diagram here, the full total eclipse that went up through South America and just touching slightly on the root chakra. We also had a lunar eclipse, which is just afterwards, and that was dealing with the same thing. So what the moon or the lunar eclipse did is the solar eclipse announced that the work that we've got to do is on the root. That's the physical side of things, of what we need to shine a light on and how we actually do things. And then we had the lunar eclipse after that, which had the root chakra, the slightly touching on the heart chakra, but also on the sacred chakra, the sacrum. So this was giving us a heads up on the sort of emotions that are going to be explored during this period. And these emotions of how we actually treat one another. That's that root chakra. And then it's how we apply that through our own desires, which are the sacred chakra, the sacrum, and then also how we express that through our joy in our heart chakra. The difference this time round, and this is the autumn eclipse season, we now have a partial eclipse, which is still touching the heart chakra slightly and goes on to end pretty much on the crown chakra of the world. Here is a map here, just in case you want to have a quick look at what the sort of chakras look like across the world. I go into it a lot more on Cymatic TV, our sister channel. There is a link you'll find here just above me here for in the corner, just for Cymatic TV. So here's the chakras as it goes across the globe. And as we can see, this solar eclipse is affecting slightly the heart chakra, but mainly finishing on the root chakra. So this is a process that has gone from the crown chakra side. And this is a process that has gone from the root chakra all the way through the crown. And the chakra that is the bridge between the two is that heart chakra, because in those lunar eclipses back in Taurus season, we had the root, we had the heart, and we had the sacrum. And on the second eclipse, the second lunar eclipse, which is out on November the 9th, there is only one chakra missing out of the connection that it does have with the lunar eclipse, and that is the heart chakra. So it's basically sort of said to us over these past sort of 6 months, there is root situations of how we deal with one another, what we want out of the situation, and what sort of joy or what sort of emotions we can bring to the situation. And that's what we should have been exploring over the last 6 months. In this sort of closing ceremony, as it were, it's mainly the heart chakra that's been taken out of the situation. So within this, although it's sort of saying the solar eclipse is sort of saying, okay, we're now going to put the emotions to one side and we're going to actually do. And it making sure the emotions are really clear between one another. And this is what I was talking about in the monthly readings in regards to sort of starting to trust one another and building a certain, that respect is another sort of currency that we can use when interacting with one another. And I think this is what it's about here. It's now exposing of how we actually put this together. So from the 9th of November, we're going to have to start getting it together. We're going to have to start building something new, something different to what we've been doing over the past, I don't know, 500 years, possibly. It's a new way of governance, a new way of interacting between one another. With all this technology that we have, surely we can make this technology help a collective governance rather than sort of pyramidal governance, as it were. Okay, and I think this is what this whole sort of thing is coming through to an end, and it's that process or that ceremony that we're going through from the 25th of October right through to the 9th of November. That's where it's going to be playing the most in the ceremony, and it's from there on is how we act it out. Obviously there's eclipses next year which we will be going into. We also had the blood moon come through, I think it was on the 9th, and I will be going into that a lot more on the lunar eclipse reading, which will come out at the very beginning of November. Okay, in the meantime, let's get on with your collective reading, or our collective reading rather. Right, after all that information, let's just get on with your reading, with our reading, as it were, our collective reading. What's going to be the work that's going to come out of this? How is it going to play out? How is this respect and trust going to sort of evolve with us? We're going to be looking at the relationship side, the money side, and the overall energies and the general outcome here. So we're going to go straight in with the overall energy playing out through the center card. There's a bit of conflict, it's got to be said. If you're used to something and the way something works, and if you're invested in the way something works, they're not going to be wanting to, you're not going to want it to change, are you? So you're going to find there's going to be a lot of resistance. But I think it's a case that it's almost as if you keep calm and carry on. That was the slogan in the UK during the Second World War, and it's a little bit like that. It's a little bit a case of, and if you're going to create something, it's keeping calm and carrying on for this future of how we build it, really, basically. So let's just see what that is there. Healthy boundaries. This is the realization of what we've been through over the last 500 years, of what we want to change and what we don't want to go back to. And it's going on that sort of journey. I do want another one. There is a healing process in this as well for everybody. And it's learning, that's that learning to trust and that respect, I think, that's coming out. And it's a healing process. So what's the karmic message for this coming up for us in relationship size? Let's just see what's the work to be done and how we can put this together. The magical ingredient of pleasure in life, or fun, or happiness, is sharing it. That is the magical ingredient. If we share our happiness with other people that are around us, even if it's something that we do on an individual basis, if we share that with the people that are around us, that card definitely wants to come out. If we share it with the people that are around us, all of a sudden it gets a place in our collective consciousness. And then that happiness grows in weight. And then therefore it can radiate through the rest of society. And if we're all looking for that, that's what we're going to find in a collective. Yeah, it's realizing that happiness is not just the turn of a whim. It's also something that we can cultivate. And I think this is what this King of Swords is all about. The message is that you or we have the possibility of making this relationships that we have with our neighbors, our friends, our family, our couple, any sort of relationships that you do have, be it built upon understanding and a clear vision of what we want out of life, basically. Okay, so let's just see how the sort of universe is trying to sort of influence this karmic message, or the earth is trying to influence this karmic message as well. be all and end all. It's a make or break moment. That's what they're sort of saying. This is a make or break moment. And it can flow both ways, I think. Look at that. How powerful is that? You've got, as I was talking about in the eclipse, it's in the lunar eclipse, and I think this is what the final ceremony is going to be all about. It's taking the emotions out of the situation, being a little bit practical about it. And we can be practical within our emotions and our relationships that are around us. And knowing those limits, those healthy boundaries that go between us. And they're sort of saying this is a make or break moment. It could be easy, plain sailing if we just take a grip of our emotions, basically. Let's just see how our ancestors are trying to sort of influence the actual sort of situation, the physical interaction in regards to relationships that are around us. Don't waste your time. It's sort of saying, if there's something, if I like, let's just say I like pool, billiards, I think you call it in America. Pool, I like pool and you like, I don't know, water skiing. Those two things are pretty incompatible, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to go water skiing or you have to go play pool with me. It's just finding the levels of where the interaction that is good for everyone in concern. It's a very physical thing. It's a long-term journey. It's discovering that childish view of things, of planting, of seeing it grow and making a fruit and kind of going, oh wow, this is amazing, and realizing that process. It's a real victory. This is what they hope, our ancestors, a real victory for going forward for everybody in regards to physical relationships between one and another. Let's just see how the more sort of mental or emotional vibration, how the ancestors are really trying to sort of encourage that within us. There's a lot of smiling and round campfires and stuff like that, because that's what brings people in together. It's those moments where we sit together and we can chat, or we can, it's that sharing. That's what it is. It's the sharing of that emotional happiness at the moment in which you do it. So if you do want to go down the beach, you should tell everybody around you, because there will be people around you that will want to go to the beach. So then therefore you can express, or you can share that beautiful emotion of the people around us as we go forward. It's a whole new cycle coming up. This is what it's pertaining to. It's the start of that new emotion that's coming through. So we really need to sort of broaden our horizons in the way in which we have fun in our relationships in the world around us. Let's just see what's going on the financial sort of side. This is sort of to do with jobs, business, possessions as well, physical, material world, basically. Let's just see what the karmic message is for this. There is a limit to everything, and this is what, and it plays into the environment as well, which is really important to see. I could make money producing a product that causes enormous amount of pollution, but it's dirt cheap. And so people buy it up. But then the long-term cost for the environment is going to be a nightmare. So maybe it's better to this is where it's sort of knowing your limits in a way. And this is playing to our expertise and understanding that there is an offset cost of anything we produce or anything we do in the way of work, in the way of a job, a business, and etc. It's got to be taken into account. So it's got to be taken into account of how we treat our workers. If you're running a business, if you've got people who work for you, it's got to be taken into account of how you treat your bosses. It's a general respect that needs to be had. That's got to be taken away from you're my boss because you know certain person who knows certain person, but you're not really good at your job, because that's not respect. That is you've got to respect the people that you're working with, regardless of their position. And I think this is where we can master this. This is what it's sort of saying to us in this eclipse. It's sort of saying through the emotional heart chakra of the eclipse, I think this is where it plays out a lot more on the physical plane rather than on the emotional plane. Okay? And it's bringing us to that heightened vision of the crown chakra of how we actually put things in together. The emotions on this side here, it's almost as if like the eclipse have warmed your heart chakra so you can be a lot more easygoing with other people that are around you. And I think that's important. But on the material side, it's sort of saying here is there's, because it's only slightly touching the heart chakra, I would say that on the material side, it's more sort of saying let's be practical about this. Let's be masters of our own destination, or our own, our own evolution, our own future, So let's just see how the universe is trying to guide this situation. It's diverting our gaze from, so like if someone, typically in the 80s, if someone drove past with a nice Porsche or Ferrari, everyone would be, wow, brilliant. Who's got the new mobile phone and everything like that. And that's been running all the way up through to 2020. And since 2020, I think there's a little bit of, the majority of people are walking away from that or have walked away from that. Not everybody, but there is a great deal of people that walked away from it. And if you walk away from it, you're going to realize that do you really need a car that goes 500 miles an hour if we haven't got the technology to control it? If we're depending upon you to control that car, that's way too dangerous, and that's why we put in speed limits. But if we have the technology to control it all, maybe the speed limits not really matter. But at the moment, it does. And it's sort of saying, well, do you really need a car that goes that fast? Why? What's the point? You could have examples of those cars to do racing and stuff like that on Pacific tracks. And maybe that will be a new industry that builds up because everyone would want to drive fast cars. But it's that sort of thing that the universe is sort of trying to sort of say to us. We have that capacity within us at the moment to manifest a future that is way beyond what we can ever imagine. The technological advances could be huge if we start working on a basis of respect of every stage in the process of doing a business or doing a job. Okay? And the universe here is sort of saying you can manifest like massive fast cars, but just what's the point? If you mix it in with the respect of everything and the respect of the environment and everything like that, is it worth it? Is it worth it? The gains, or is it worth it? And that's what they're sort of saying here. The universe is sort of saying, yes, you can manifest pretty much anything, but just be careful about what you're trying to manifest, really. Okay? Collectively, that is, and collectively, we shouldn't be just, focusing on very small parts of it. We should be focusing on the whole and how the whole gets put together. The whole circle gets put together. Let's just see how the guides or our ancestors are influencing the physical, the material side of this side of it, of life. They're all in agreement. And so this means in our ancestors, you can't exclude anybody. So you can't exclude, someone couldn't exclude, let's say, Mother Teresa as much as you can't exclude Hitler. You've got to take these extremes into the situation as well, and realize that they are extremes. Like looking at the solar eclipse, you have parts where you got the almost 90% or 86% solar eclipse, and then you're going to get partial where you're going to be down to 10%, which is on the heart chakra. And here they're all in agreement that, taking into account all the extremes and everything like that, the middle ground, the best thing for the human race, for us collectively, is built upon that idea of respect. And it's regardless of whether our ancestors were rich or poor or whatever, or had positions of power, they're all sort of saying, maybe we should let go of that position of power. what we've done in the past was done in the past. It brought us to where we are today. Don't throw that away. Don't ignore it. It's very important to actually recognize it and kind of go, that was brilliant for that moment there, because we've got to this point of understanding. Okay? Yeah. Happiness after difficulty. This could be really, really good, people. We could really evolve. I was talking about, forgetting which monthly reading, talking about, working computer chips that work on light rather than on resistance. And all of a sudden you can use a lot less electricity in your products, in your computers and everything like that, if it's built upon magnetic and light. It's really important. If we can make that step up, all of a sudden we could cut out energy consumption by 2/3, if not more. So yeah, electrical cars will be possible. But we've got to, it's like electrical cars. You've got to be able to recycle everything on an electrical car. If you can't, then it's detrimental. It's not worth it. Petrol is something, and oil is something that would never see the end of. It's constantly produced by the earth. It's a filtration process that goes through the crust of the earth, and as it cools, it solidifies and goes into wells which we can pull on. If you pull on too much, you're going to make the well go dry, because it's a process that's a lot longer than water, for example. So we have to get this all into the situation. So when you're doing your job, keep an idea of what is a respectful way of doing this, and talking to your bosses, talking to people that are in your company that you work at about this respect will be very beneficial going forward. It's going to help you out loads. And I wouldn't accept, and this is where the healthy boundaries come into place, I wouldn't accept second best in regards to respect. Let's just see how they're trying to influence like the emotional sort of side of that. That's where that sort of comes in, really. Everyone knows the story about Edison and Tesla. You should go back there and about how they killed an elephant, and they wanted to use testers of electricity to execute the elephant, and it didn't work, and then they had to use Edison's, because Edison's was much more dangerous. But at the same time, you can put a meter on Edison's and you couldn't put it on Tesla's. So it was much more advantageous for certain business interests in order to follow the Edison model rather than Tesla. Although Tesla, way above the rest. He's like the modern day Da Vinci in that respect. So yeah, it's a case of kind of realizing, it's almost forgiveness of what we've done in the past, of how we're going forward. Very much to do with forgiveness. We're talking about the long-term plan here. It's forgiving, but as I said earlier on, getting to where we are today, we'd have to go through those difficult times. Those difficult times which we see in the Ten of Cups, which is that barrier which we can see just here. And as it goes up there, it comes into sort of like the happiness. So it's happiness after difficulty. And that happiness is now building strides of moving forward. The weight or the power you have in your pocket is far greater than you can think. So is it more advantageous to buy a burger from a local company, a local small outlet, family run little snack bar, or from a big international burger bar? You make the decision. We can manifest what we want. It is incredible what you have in your pocket. And we've got to start using it properly. And I think here is what they're saying here is the long-term plan is built upon respect and the idea that the economy is there to serve everybody and not just a select few, which is one of the rules they changed not too long ago in the International School of Economics. That they took out that rule that the economy needs to serve the greater good. And that's what we need to be going into. Let's just see what the outcome is for all of this. It's a personal power that makes the collective harmony. So you have to, it's like, I wouldn't go on demonstrations and stuff like that. I would just start demonstrating it through your everyday life of how you do things. It's supporting the right things. And you know it. You know in your hearts of hearts, this is what that's all about. You know in your hearts of hearts, the best, the ultimate that you can be. You know, and I understand that, okay, let's just say your local hamburger bar, let's just take that go back to that. Your local family-run hamburger bar is maybe $1.50 more than the other one. And I understand that maybe you don't have enough money to do that. And you want to buy something a little bit smaller or whatever. I understand that, but you need to then sort of like realizing that I need to be in a position where maybe I'm spending money on other things that are not really necessary. A load of old plastic, you know. And once you realize that, it's the harmony that it can create in the future going forward will mean that the technological evolutionary process that we go through, that is actually going to be the benefit for everybody else on this planet, and also for the planet itself. It's going to become almost matter of fact, rather than funneling huge amounts of money into only few pockets. I think that's what it comes into. It's not socialism. That's not what it's all about. It's a conscious revolution that we should be going through. And we should be dancing all the way. There's a lot of happiness. It's getting into a rhythm. It's getting into the rhythm of the earth. Therefore, trying to eat according to the products that are available in the season that it's available and stuff like that. There's loads of things with that card there, but it's definitely marching on with a great sense of passion and joy and love going forward. And that's not just a love for one another. It's a love for the situation that we've created. Because you've been part of it. We've all been part of it. Your kids have been part of it. Your mum and dad's been part of it. Your great-great-great-great-grandfather or grandmother's been part of it. This is bringing us up to a point where we can start really taking responsibility for our future collectively, but also for where we live collectively and how we put that in the position of everything else within the universe. Woo, there you go. I hope you enjoyed that reading. I hope it helps you to sort of position yourself for the going next 6 months, because this is what's going to happen over the next 6 months. It's going to be a real putting into practice, that sort of thing, right up to the next lunar and solar eclipses, which will be coming up next year. Haven't quite seen the dates of them, can't quite remember them, so I'm not going to quote them to you, but I think they're in the early part of 2023. We do our weekly readings, which are obviously earth signs on the Thursday night, water signs on the Friday night, fire signs on the Saturday night, and air signs on the Sunday night. You will also get your individual eclipse reading coming out on this Wednesday. In the meantime, we thank you very much for your support on this channel, because YouTube are being a little bit very, let's say, shy in how they help us with their impressions, basically, at the moment. Let's just hope that, you know, they realise that we're not here to bring down YouTube. We're here to enhance it. So yeah, all of your help would be mostly appreciated here. And that could be through subscribing or even sharing across all social media this reading. In the meantime, Astroflower people, welcome to the family. Don't forget, life should be fun, so please do enjoy.